Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here, and after streaming for like 12 hours on the day one of the new set journey, or the Lost City of Ongoro, new quests, all these new cards, unfortunately this is probably the worst meta and the worst day one expansion experience I think I've had in many years. I've been playing Hearthstone for like 10 years now, and this one's pretty bad. There's a couple new decks, but the decks that you see on ladder, if you do play or you're gonna look here, they're gonna be very familiar with some stuff that we've seen before and like kind of what they do. So the number one, or I guess the best three decks right now are new decks, and then two of them are old ones. This ramp druid, or big druid, revolves around the 7 mana 5/5, the living legend, which is your minions cost 5 this game. This is basically Dungar druid. You play Loa on turn 4, 5, or 6, sometimes 7 if you don't ramp. Most of the time between having the new heights, you have trail mix, you have innervate, sometimes you get coin, you can discount him with Nightmare Lord Zavris, you have the location, which you can get mana back. So generally this guy is coming out. I've seen him as early against me on turn 4, but even as late as turn 7. Minions costing 5, that gets used on Ceaseless. Ceaseless is 0 mana, so you have a 7 mana or earlier full board clear. That's a 10/10. On top of that, Playhouse Giant also goes to 0, so there's 0 mana 8/8. And then on top of that, Carrier goes to 5 mana if there's nothing on your opponent's board, which there's not because they're Ceaseless. This is, how much damage is that? 16 to the face, unavoidable. Ziliax is a 12 heal with taunt, and it splits them up. And then Freyak is pretty much a full board clear or draw or damage, and then of course the other minion being Nightmare Lord Xavius to help you find Loa. So the whole point is get Loa. You make basically 1 to 2 massive boards, huge pressure, and then you just win. You'll see in the games I play with this deck. I'm not maining Druid, but of course we want to make content, so we did play a few games of Druid. Unfortunately, Quest Murloc Paladin was 73% of all of our games today. So unfortunately, we were queuing in against that mainly, and for that being the most aggressive, best deck right now, this deck put up a fight against it very well, which is crazy, because we literally don't have a minion to play until generally turn 4, most of the time turn 7, or even later. So if this deck can complete with Murloc Paladin in regards to how fast you can win, that just shows how powerful this Druid deck is. If you look at the early game, again, it's innervate, it's a draw, it's clear or just make time, bottomless toy chest. Even though there's no spell power, you're using this just to discover ramp and or your key pieces to your combo, which is again the living legend. Reforestation to draw a minion and a spell, which is ramp and a minion. Story of Barnabas draws a minion. If it has 5 or more attack, give it 5 health and gain 5 armor. Whether you're drawing your Loa, Freyak, Ziliax, it's good. A lot of people do run Sonaris. I opted to just go with 2 carriers instead of Sonaris because I think Carrier is better than Sonaris, just because it can attack immediately. And then besides that, the deck is insane. You'll see it whether on ladder or in the video that I'll post immediately after this video. But yeah, this deck is insane. It's basically just Dungar Druid. So yeah, very, very good. We have the Quest Murloc Paladin. We've seen this deck a lot in the theory crafting event. I'm sure you're going to see this probably deck the most on ladder because it's the easiest. It's super budget friendly and it wins very fast. The new quest is a repeatable summon 5 Murlocs, and the reward is your Murlocs that you summon gain +1/+1. So the whole deck is just curves out with Murlocs, Murlocs that summon Murlocs, Murlocs that buff when you play Murlocs, Murlocs that get reborn, because if it gets reborn, it counts as a Murloc being summoned. You go ahead and play the submerged map. No, we do not play the 2 mana card that pulls the spell from the deck, whether it's the 2 mana Hand of Justice or whatever, and then the map. We just run Brain Gill instead with the Rock Skipper, because I found that having the 1 mana direct damage came in clutch a lot of the times. You'll see that I should link the videos to every deck that I have that I talk about in the description. If it's not there, it's because I haven't posted it yet, and it'll be there shortly. Cold Ice Shear buffs the board. Hot Spring Glider is insane. A lot of people, you'll see, they'll play this guy on turn 3, and then they won't play another Murloc because it doesn't say this turn. The following turn, they'll play Tyrannogale, which is insane. It's a 6 mana 6/3 with Rush, Death Rattle, summon 3/2/1 Murlocs, give them each a bonus random effect. Again, the Murlocs pop out, buff your quest. They have random effects, whether it's Poisonous, Rush, Wind Fury. This card is insane, and the fact that you can just generate this through the Angling Rod is really good. Crusader Aura is nuts with this deck because there's just so many Murlocs and so much pressure. You run the Steam Fin, which is summoned to 1/1 Murlocs with Mush. These can get buffed. These count towards the quest. And then you even run Grunty because he summons 4 Murlocs and you get to choose what they attack so you can get back on the board. And this in itself is a full buff of the quest. So by the time you're summoning Grunty, you're just going crazy mode. So Quest Murloc Shaman is Quest Murloc Paladin is fucking nuts. And if you are playing Hearthstone, you are seeing a lot of it. So taking a look at another very powerful deck, I'm not seeing this deck as much as the other two. However, this deck is gaining steam, and I'm going off of like what I'm looking at, like other top 100, top 200 legend players on this particular deck. This is going to be the Managerie Death Knight. In regards to new cards, it runs the Paradox, which is a 0 mana, basically 4/3 with Rush and Lifesteal. It runs the Raptor, which is a 4 mana, 3/4 battle cry, draw a death rattle minion that costs 3 or less. Kindred, it costs 0, but it's undead and a beast. Everything pretty much in the deck is undead or beast, so this is always going to have Kindred, and then summoning more minions that have death rattle, like the Reluctant Wrangler, which is a 3 mana 1/1 reborn death rattle, summon a 2/2 undead beast with taunt. So it's just going to come back and have taunt again. Because there's so many things dying and there's so many corpses, we have Horizon's Edge and Foam Renderer. And I believe that's it for new cards. You run Corpse Sickle, you run the Buccaneer because there's a ton of death rattles and you're just like giving them the reborn and resummoning and drawing. You run the Mosquito, which is fantastic. If this card sticks and you go like Morbid Swarm or Mermy or the Handler with the Buccaneer, and any of that sticks, you on turn like 3, you'll have 4 minions that have like 3 to 4 or 5 attack, and you're just lethaling people on turn 3, 4, or 5 with this. And then Zephyrus gives you some over the top damage as well. The deck may not like look like a lot, but this deck is a lot. I was watching some people play it this evening, and it's a very good deck, and it's a decent counter, I believe, versus some of those Murloc decks. Also, of course, it runs Jug. Give 3 random friendly minions of different minion types +3/+3. Very, very good. We saw this card a lot at the end of last meta with like Fishing Priest and the other versions of Menagerie Death Knight, which were performing very well. So those are pretty much all of the decks that contain new cards, if you're interested in playing new cards and technically new decks. And then there are a subgroup of other people who don't want to play with the new cards because they could potentially lose and those decks not be as good as the old decks. So the best old decks to play if you don't have the new cards is going to be the Hog Demon Hunter, or should I say the Pain Hog Demon Hunter, which revolves around Ball Hog, and then you have like the Ravenous Fell Hunter to resummon it. You run Umbra, you run Kanye, which is a kind of new inclusion in the deck to just avoid all of the taunts. You run the Thrill Seeker, which is damage your hero takes on your turn is redirected at a random enemy, in combination with stuff like the Stapler, which deals damage to yourself. You run Nightshade Tea, you run the Masseuse and Acupuncture. You can do a massive amount of damage to your opponent in one turn with this deck out of nowhere, along with just super sustain heal. So this deck does very well into most other aggro decks because you're clearing the board and you're healing, and you have just more value than them heading into the late game with stuff like Fell Hunter and then the Umbra with the big burst of the Thrill Seeker. We saw this deck a lot in the last season, like a lot. And then we have Fishing Priest, again, a very aggro priest deck, very similar to like the Menagerie Death Knight. It just plays a bunch of stuff, and then you play Jug. You have a hero power because you're imbuing, which allows you to just generate free shit all the time, because that's what priest does, it generate free shit. So you have Battle Cry, imbue your hero power. You run the Knight, which is imbue your hero power, and then the thing, your hero power can generate more imbue stuff to imbue your hero power to get more free shit. This deck can deal with pretty large minions because of the Vol'jin. So if your opponent like plays Turtle, you know, they get lucky and go like Chemical Spill Turtle, and then you just Vol'jin the Turtle stats and trade it for like your pet Parrot, which is a 1/1. It's insane. So even though it is an aggro deck, it does have resources and tools to be able to beat really heavy control decks, which there's not a lot of right now. And then of course it runs Zephyrus, whether you need to deal with the board or more direct damage, which is probably what you're going to do. It has that as well. So this is a very aggressive priest deck. Again, very budget, only has 2 legendaries in it, and contains 0 new cards. And then there is the mention of Imbue Paladin, which you can still play with the Ursul and the Flames and the Dragons and all that shit. That's obviously still very good. So any tier 1 deck in the previous meta is going to be very good right now, along with the decks that I have covered. But if you're looking for something new, it's the Loa Druid, the Murloc Paladin, and the Menagerie Death Knight. As for basically every other quest deck or any other new deck, there are some stats here that I'll see if I can pull up real quick. it is not looking good for basically the rest of the expansion. So here we are at Quest Druid, Ysanjay Warrior, Hydration, Wilted Priest, Asteroid Shaman, Quest Spell, Turbulus, Quest Warrior, Imbue Priest, Quest DK, Quest Mage, Quest Hunter, Quest Warlock, Quest Shaman, Quest Demon Hunter, Quest Priest, Quest Rogue, and Cycle Quest Warlock. Basically all below what 40% win rate here, with a played rate of basically all sub 1%, which means no one is playing with the new cards and no one is winning with the new cards. So rendezvous, back to what I said at the start of the video, this has probably been one of the weakest, worst expansion day one releases in regards to playing Hearthstone I've had in a while. Hopefully you guys' experience is better on this. Maybe leave a comment below if it's really good, or if you're feeling the same way I am. Like it was just really bad. It's sad. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed that like this is where we're at. So as always, good luck on the decks and happy whatever the hell day it is.